heard you wrote a children's book, and the thing is that I am on a constant quest for the truth. And what better way to tell the truth than speak to children? Because children talk about the truth, because that's all they know. They don't know about lies, they don't know about dishonesty, they talk about the truth. So I want to read to you, not from my smut novel that I've been working on for years and years and years. I know, it's been so long. It's actually a true story. You want, yeah? Oh, I thought you guys wanted me to show you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's here. It's right here. That's the pose. No, that's the fake pose. You want to see the real pose?
Yeah.
No! Darrow, you're supposed to say no.
I said yeah.
No.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to read to you from my children's book, The Once Brave Boy. All right. So, thanks. All right. So this is. This was actually. I wrote this from inspiration for what the fuck is going on in this world. Like, what is going on between what happens in America, what happens throughout the world, war, everything else like that. I went to Rwanda, and I came back from Rwanda. I never had any intention of being a children's book writer. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what better way to talk about bravery and courage than talk about it through children? And through the stories of my nephews. So here this is. And this is The Once Brave Boy. There once was a boy, so brave and so true. Some called him fearless. We'll call him Andrew. An only child was he, no siblings, not one. But this did not stop him from having some fun. He went to the most adventurous places in his head, sometimes without getting up out of his bed. He climbed to the top of Everest, he bounced on the moon, and all without ever leaving his room. His room was his kingdom where he sat at the helm. Oh, what fun did he have as the king of his realm. He ruled with style, he ruled with grace, and he always stared danger in the face. When it came to being brave, some say he was the best of the best, for he never backed down when he was put to the test. He was so very ferocious, he was ever so bold. He wasn't even 8 years old. There was no danger too big, no peril too small. If his village he's faced with, why, he'd fight them all. What made him so daring, so dashing, so unafraid? I suppose that's what happens when you're the bravest of brave. Word of his bravery traveled wide and it traveled far. Why, they even heard about him in Myanmar. These are some of the stories they told, and all of them true. For there is no braver boy than our brave Andrew. He could hold his breath and swim the length of a Nile, even while wrestling a crocodile. Often he rode on the back of a brachiosaurus. Some even said he was taught by Chuck Norris. Oh, Andrew spoke Chinese and Russian and even Latin. His favorite words in the world were Veni Vidi Vici and Carpe Diem. Some say there was no brave boy braver than he. Maybe there never was, and perhaps there never will be. Andrew imagined himself a knight, a warrior, an Indian chief, and when he felt mischievous, he imagined himself a thief. He imagined himself bold, he imagined himself strong, and then one day, something went terribly wrong. Donald Trump became president. No, true story. That's exactly what happened. It was like the strangest thing. He's like all brave and stuff, and then what the fuck? By the way, this is a book for children. My nephews were in the car the other day, like, motherfucker. I'm like, yep, I'm the rant. Alright, what creature, what crawler, what inhuman beast transformed our young hero to the least of the least? Was it dog with 3 heads with a monstrous roar? Or was it a scamp that had never been seen before? All that is known from that day on, and almost forevermore, this once brave boy was brave no more. There's no telling what happened that gave Andrew quite such a fright, but our hero, young Andrew, lost all of his bravery that night. But Andrew was no scaredy cat. He was not even a wimp. Why, he never backed down from a fight with an imp. That's what makes this situation oh so confusing. You see, Andrew was simply unaccustomed to losing. Now, Andrew was scared of monsters. He was afraid of the dark. You should have seen him jump when he heard a dog bark. Poor Andrew had forgotten what being brave was about, for Andrew the fierce had become Andrew the loud. He searched every mountain, he searched high, he searched low, but where, oh where did his bravery go? He checked under his bed and behind his closet door. He even checked inside his top drawer. He searched and he searched, but his bravery he could not find. It is sad, but sometimes even heroes get left behind. I know. One day, Andrew stopped looking. He gave up the search, and nothing, not one thing, could get him out of his lurch. Without his daring, his spirit, his funk, it seems our young Andrew had fallen into a funk. Andrew's parents got worried, for no coward was he. There must be something they could do to help him find his bravery. What brouhaha, what mayhem could they find themselves in that could help our once courageous Andrew be courageous once again? What giant, what ogre, what leviathan of lore could return Andrew's bravery to what it was once before? They would need to be rescued from danger, from turmoil, perhaps from the grips, from evil gargoyle. Steve Bannon. Sorry. So they devised a plan. They set up all night, and in the morning they seemed to have gotten it right. From their plan once hatched, there was no turning back, for they just had to have their hero back. So they stole away that morning after Andrew was left for school. He might have been brave, but Andrew was not a fool. But they left a map and a trail of breadcrumbs in order to ensure that their hero would come. But Andrew did not learn of their fate until perhaps the hour grew too late. For Andrew went straight to his room when he got off the bus, where even his mighty sword had gathered some dust. He thought about picking it up just this once, but without his bravery, Andrew felt like a dunce. So he hid it away so that he did not lose it. After all, what good is bravery if you never use it? Andrew no longer climbed mountains. He only climbed onto his bed, where he chose to finish his homework instead. Who does that? After all the questions were answered, when his work was complete, Andrew went down the hall to find something to eat. The sky had grown darker, the night had grown cold, but all throughout the house there was no one to behold. Both his mother and father were nowhere in sight. Andrew knew right there and there was something wasn't quite right. Andrew looked in the kitchen. He put the lights on outside. It was not like his parents to run off and hide. He called and he shouted, but there was no reply. This is not funny anymore. Where are you guys? There was nobody there. There was nobody home. It seems that our once brave boy was now all alone. Just when he had almost given up hope, he found the map, and attached was a note. He found us, he took us, he stole us away. Please, Andrew, please come and save the day. P.S. Be brave, dear boy, be as brave as you can, for we have been kidnapped by a half beast, half man. Who exactly was he? Andrew knew not, for in that moment it was only his fear. He forgot. Without a second to lose, without a minute to waste, Andrew made off with all due haste. Over mountains he traveled, through deserts and rivers galore, to ensure that his parents were safe once more. When he had come so far, when there was nowhere to go, Andrew found himself face to face with his foe. It was a giant who stood over 10 feet tall. Poor Andrew never felt so tiny, so small. Behind the giant there arose a loud cheer. He could tell that by their voices Andrew's parents were near. Thank goodness he made it. There is nothing to fear. Hip, hip, hooray. Our hero is here. Upon hearing their cheers, the giant let out a laugh, for this giant was taller than the tallest giraffe. I was not expecting a boy quite so young. Why, you are no bigger than my little right thumb. The giant went on. He wasn't quite finished. There was still the last of Andrew's confidence to diminish. You have lost all your bravery. You have lost all this war. Because you once brave boy are brave no more. Andrew thought to himself that wasn't quite true, and in that moment his bravery grew, and it grew. Andrew gathered all his courage, he gathered all his might. If it was a fight this giant wanted, then a fight he would fight. Andrew may have been young, and he might have been small, but he was still the bravest of brave after all. In the most heroic of voices that Andrew could muster, he shouted out loud so as not to seem flustered. On guard, you big oaf, you rapscallion, you goon. I'm going to send you straight back to the moon. And with that, Andrew began his first mode of attack. It seems as if our young hero was finally back. It was a battle of brains. It was a battle of brawn. It was a battle that lasted from dusk until dawn. Finally, the giant, he could not take any more. And when thunderous thud, he fell to the floor. For sometimes, giants really do lose. Sometimes giants really do fall. And then they're not so very giant at all. And boys once brave are brave forever, because bravery once found can never be lost. Not ever. This is how this once brave boy did win. He refused to give up and he refused to give in. Andrew rescued his parents. He did save the day. His bravery was back and it was here to stay. His parents, they clapped, they whooped, and they roared because their once brave boy was brave once more. You're right, you did it, you saved us, it's true. You are and always have been our hero, Andrew. They found their way back. They made their way home to return our once brave boy to his throne. There is a moral to the story, a point you will see, something that has everything to do with bravery. This is for all you guys now. On the days that you want to give up, on the days that you want to give up, on the days that you want to quit, here's something to remember, and always remember it. You too are brave and gutsy and fearless and bold, no matter who you are, no matter how old. So get out there, go do it. The world is waiting for you. You too are as brave as our once brave boy, Andrew. And never be surprised at the things that you can do when the people you believe in the most believe in you too. Thanks, guys. All right. Do you guys mind if I do one more?
Hell yeah.
Yeah? All right.
Tell people where they can
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. This book is, no, you can't get this just yet. I mean, like, I have books on Amazon that you can get, but it's not illustrated. I'll pass it around if you guys want to see it. Yeah, no. This guy is amazing. He's an artist that I found on Instagram. His name is Tim Peterson. But this book is if you want to pay $60, like, that's cool. But I don't think you probably do want to do that. I don't know. Maybe call me crazy. Maybe you do. It's a work of art. Yeah, absolutely. But it is on Amazon without the illustrations for like $4.95. All right, so talking about the bravery and the gun violence and all the things that we were talking about before, I embarked on a journey last year. It was a pilgrimage, and I went from India all the way to Spain, walked 500 miles across Spain, and went through the Middle East, and like during Ramadan. It was awesome because you don't eat the whole night. No, you don't. You do. You're just going to stick it in a little bit. So this is my first 2 pages of the book that I'm writing, and this is where it goes. What if the world disappoints you, my mother asked, as she turned on the faucet, allowing the water to grow warm. We were having one of our bathroom conversations in which we dance around one another in front of the vanity and speak of all the things that were on our minds and in our hearts. It was one of those rare occasions in which my mother questioned my motives for the journey I was about to undertake. What if it doesn't, I countered, with words always spoken by the hopeful and the stubborn, as I looked into the mirror and plucked from my hair a single gray hair that told of an age that I was not ready to accept. The years, where had they gone? I just want you to be happy, she went on, and I gave her that look that only daughters were able to give to their mothers. You girls know what I'm talking about, right? Happiness, how boring. I say this because happiness was a word that I allowed only to stand in the shadows of my life and rarely allowed it into the light. Now it is her turn to give me that look, the look that only mothers can give their daughters. This has been our ongoing battle. Her trying to teach me sooner rather than later all that she learned in her life, and me resisting her every step of the way. What can I say? I'm stubborn in my sadness. For years I had denied this happiness and believed in it as much as I believed that the earth was flat. And for me, happiness was not here, not now, not on this island, or in this country for that matter. Here my thoughts become like this place, overcrowded, noisy, restless, always in motion and never still. Out there, they are free. And so it is in the days before I depart on this journey that I confess to her that I have to leave, that there are too many things that I have been holding on to for far longer than I should. Perhaps if I were to let go of these things, then maybe my sadness might finally give way to the happiness of which she speaks. A happiness as foreign to me as the lands I am about to travel through. But one thing was familiar in all of this. My happiness does not have roots. How my happiness loves to spread its wings. And then the second page. She's going to find her spirit, he picked up from across the deck. It was a Saturday, 3 days before my departure. What did you say, Moo? I asked through tears. I had heard what he said, but I wanted to hear it from him again. My nephew, my god monster, the love of my life. And so I pulled him in close as can be. You are going to find your spirit. That's why you're leaving, he said in the voice that echoes, how it echoes in my heart. And then he offers me that smile, that mischievous grin that will both get him into trouble and get him out of it. Only the month before he had turned 5, under the warm April sun, I wrapped my arms around him, wondering what it was, that my arms had grown so small, because it could not be so, that 5 years had passed since the day he was born, and he was already this big. Time does this, moving so swiftly that you spend more time in your memories than you do in the present moment. So much so that when asked what time it is, what day it is, what year, you ask only one question in return. What does it matter? I held him this way, unwilling to let him go just yet, and thought that maybe it wasn't that my spirit had been lost, but I was in search of something. Words, ruins, art, adventure. All of me wanted to learn what happened after love. I needed to learn what happens after war. And maybe I have never learned any of these things before, or maybe I had learned them everywhere, but only in pieces, and it was only now coming together. There was one thing I knew before departing on this journey. You find what you seek. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me tonight.
The light came on.
What's that?